Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wide Open. I'm your host, Ashlyn Harris, and I'm so happy to have you guys back this week. So much is moving so fast. I'm excited that I finally just wrapped a project I can't talk about just yet, but I will. I've been working on a secret little thing for the last few months that has taken up a lot of my time, and it's been really, really inspiring and fun and has really ignited a lot in me about, what I want to do next and what my career looks like in this new chapter of retirement. And I can't say too much, but just know that when I can talk about the project, you will hear it from me first here. And I'm excited to share this with you all, especially those of you who have been riding with me for decades with my career and who I am on and off the field. This project will really tie a bow on everything. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to work with a lot of incredible people. So I look forward to sharing that with you soon. Stepping into this new chapter of sport and entertainment and really trying new things in this new phase in my life after retirement, I'm really starting to love the work behind the camera. I'm really wanting to get into more scripted work. And I never thought I would say that as someone who now can check the box of doing documentaries on women's sports with Red Bull and Hello Sunshine, the new series, The Rise. I think it's time for me to really start to write and create scripted shows and important scripted shows that really push the envelope and embody the journey and what it's like to be in sport and to be a woman in a male dominated industry. And I want to create really, really fun scripts that embody all of these things. So fingers crossed, I'm speaking it into existence and I want to bring you all with me. And I appreciate you constantly pushing me to dig deeper and have this career I've always imagined and not feeling scared to attack it. And, we have, speaking of, we have a really special guest this week, Brittany Bowe, who has done just that. She has pushed the envelope and shifted and changed and reinvented herself over and over and over again and charged it with zero regret. And it's opened so many incredible doors. And as someone who sits on the HRC board, she just got a visibility award at the LA dinner. And I'm so incredibly proud to have her on the podcast. And she's so articulate and insightful. And I think it's going to teach a lot of us about going after something, even when it might seem crazy to most people, and really betting on yourself. So here's this week's episode with Brittany. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wide Open. I have a very special guest today. Brittany Bowe is on today's podcast, and wow, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because we got to see so much at the Winter Olympics this year. And the most beautiful part was her engagement with Hillary Knight. There are athletes, and then there are people who completely rewrite what's possible. Brittany Bowe wasn't supposed to end up on the ice. She grew up in Central Florida, playing everything, chasing everything, competing in anything she could get her hands on. But basketball was her dream. She played at FAU, and that was supposed to be the path until it wasn't. What followed was one of the most unlikely pivots in sports, trading hardwood for ice, Florida for the world stage, and becoming one of the best speed skaters on the planet. But this conversation isn't about medals or moments. It's about identity. It's about what it means to carry parts of yourself quietly while chasing greatness. It's about love, finding it, choosing it, and celebrating it out loud. And it's about letting go of a career, of a version of yourself, and stepping into something unknown. Brittany is at that edge right now, walking away from the sport that defined her and stepping into a life that's still unfolding. Let's get into it. This is Wide Open, and this is Brittany Bowe. Welcome to the show, Brittany. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, just getting off of an insane, like the Winter Olympics were so good this year. I just really was in it. I know you were there, and you don't get to see it. Like, it's nice to just to not feel in it anymore, and to experience it with a cold little beverage and my kids, and we're wearing dripped out USA gear. But yeah, I bet reality feels a little different right now for you, especially you just newly retired. There's a lot of great things going on in your world. Viral moment of the engagement. Such a really cool time for you right now. So I'm really excited to dive into everything. But before we get there, I need to know everything about your childhood in Florida, because we are literally neighbors and we've never met, and I hate that.
I know, girl. I can't believe we're both in Florida. For you, it makes more sense being a professional soccer player. But for me, being a professional speed skater, people are like, how the heck did you get involved in speed skating coming from Florida? And I grew up in the basketball gym. My dad was a high school basketball coach for the majority of my life. So I found myself in the gym doing what we would call or consider a traditional sport. And then when I was growing up, I went to a friend's birthday party at the local roller skating rink.
No.
Just not thinking about anything, just going to this birthday party. And the inline skating coach from that rink, mind you, I had no idea inline skating was even a sport. She came up to me and my family, and she just saw me zooming around. She explained a little bit about what she does and about the sport of inline skating, and invited me out to an inline skating practice. So of course I get a pair of skates, I go to practice, and very quickly I find out that I have an absolute need for speed. So so I just get involved in this super niche sport that really nobody knew about, and still people don't know about. And it is a world championship level sport. It's a Pan American level sport, but it's not an Olympic sport. Mm-hmm. But I dove into this, and I started traveling around the world, and I was on a professional race team when I was probably 12 or 13.
No.
Yeah. So I just, I remember, I think I was maybe 12, and it was the first time I went to a pro race, which was a marathon in California, and my mom shipped me off, and that was when she could still go through TSA. And actually, I don't even know if TSA was a thing.
No,
you walked me to the gate.
Yes.
Yeah, puts me on the airplane, and I remember just being terrified to travel across the country by myself, but had the time of my life and really never looked back. I had so much success in the sport of inline skating. And, but to fast forward a little bit, I played every sport under the sun growing up in Florida. Volleyball. I was the only girl on the boys' soccer team, the only girl on the boys' baseball team, because I'm I'm not playing with the girls. I'm not playing softball, this, that, and the other. I want to play with the boys for,
Same.
Writing must have been on the wall, but here we are.
Everyone's like, when did you know you were queer? And I'm more
yeah, the writing was on the wall very early. Yeah, maybe it was me playing basketball or football out in the backyard with my dad with no t-shirt on when that was allowed back in the day. So many signs on the wall.
We were the same kid from Florida. I never had a shirt on, and I never had shoes on. So here we are. Same.
But Yeah, so like there's so many things, but like growing up, like in high school, I started to have to narrow down some of these sports, and my two main sports were basketball and inline skating. And when I was graduating from high school, I had two really cool opportunities. One was to take advantage of this program that the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee had in place, which took the top inline skaters in the U.S. and funded them for 12 months to move out to Salt Lake City and try ice speed skating. The other opportunity I had was an offer to play Division I basketball at Florida Atlantic University. And from a young age, I always wanted to play D1 ball. So at no point in my mind did I even consider going to try ice skating at this point. It was like, I'm going to Florida Atlantic and I'm playing D1 ball.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I had 4 great years at Florida Atlantic, and, you know, my graduating year, here we are, 2010, and the Winter Olympics were airing from Vancouver, and I was sitting on the couch with my roommate, and I was watching, and I saw a lot of my inline skating friends and competitors walking in opening ceremonies, competing, winning medals. And at this point, I was really like, I want to go play professional ball overseas and then hopefully make it into the WNBA. And watching the 2010 Vancouver games, I had a total change of heart. Seeing people that I grew up with, you know, having success at that Olympic level, I was like, no, when I graduate, I'm not going to play basketball anymore. I'm moving out to Salt Lake City and I'm becoming a speed skater.
Wow. Okay. Pause. Because do you know what it tells me? You were intense early on as a kid. Like I loved to compete. Like I was crazy. I was competing all the time. And like that sounds exactly like you right now. So when you were a kid, before all of this, did you just want to compete at everything? Were you just intense early on?
Because intense.
Okay.
Yes, like I wanted.
Yeah. This is totally making sense, because how many people their last year of college are just like, oh, I'm playing Division I college basketball, but you know what? I want more. I want to go after this. I can do this. Like, what? I'm sorry. That I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
So how many years have you paused? How many years have you like not been like on the ice at this point playing basketball? Did you even touch an ice rink in college?
No, I mean, you know, like growing up, maybe went to like the ice skating rink here and there. But
for
like
fun.
Absolutely, yes, like nothing serious. So I would say, yeah, like I never tried speed skating until I graduated from college. So what, 22 years old? So that was 2010. Wow. And yeah, it was just like seeing somebody, I'm sure you can relate. You're like, if they can do it, I can do that. Like I beat their butts back then, and if they can do it, like I'm about to beat their butt here.
Well, it's really interesting that what most people don't know is it's so different. Like team sports and basketball, there's such a culture, and it's like you've got like you're only as good as the other people around you. Like you can show up and be great one day, and half of your team, you know, had a shit off day, and it affects the outcome. Like it's great too, because when you're that person having a shit day, you can have other people carry you. Not when you're like fucking ice skate. That is you, homegirl. You are by yourself. You are putting everything on your back, and you're like, well, let's hope I don't feel like shit today and have a blooper.
Yeah, that's like the beauty and the beast of like the individual and team sport thing. Like I miss team sports so much. I mean, like you win together, you lose together, you have this sisterhood, this camaraderie.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it's like for ice skating or really any individual sport, like nobody is as happy for you as you are for you when you win, and nobody feels that same disappointment when you don't win, but like you get to step up to that line and you're like, this is all me right now. So there's something like really powerful about that too.
Pressure is a privilege.
Whew,
Pressure is a privilege. That is why I wanted to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah. I'm
I
like,
was
you
like,
can't have any off days.
no, I'm either the hero or I'm the goat. It's either I want to walk out with my head held high or I want to crawl in every crack and hopefully no one sees me. And I thought it was awesome. I was like, well, you can't hide in this position.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
such
funny
a
you like say pressure is a privilege because I love that and I always remind myself of that. But there are many times where it's like, why did I sign up for this? Like this is self-inflicted like torture and misery right now and you're like, nope, pressure is a privilege. But
yeah.
that like literally saves me and I'm sure it saves a lot of people because a lot of times you do not feel that.
No, we athletes who make it at the top, like yourself, like you don't just accidentally stumble on 6 world championships or you don't accidentally become a 4-time Olympian. Like you move differently in the world. But this is going to be a big topic of discussion that's been going on for a lot of people our age because we're pretty similar in age. Specialized sports early is the death of a lot of kids who want to develop to be great. There is no coincidence when you look at people like yourself, me, Abby Wambach,
Yep.
Megan Rapinoe, Sue Bird, some of the greatest, Diana Taurasi, like all of these people played so many different sports. They were excellent at so many different sports. They did not choose until much later. I'm curious, and I genuinely feel this when I see babies, I'll call them, already and like drills doing organized like training and having weights and I'm like you're going to hate this sport soon because you still have so many years and there's no freedom to express yourself or be curious or creative in other sports. Like I love baseball. I was a catcher. It made me a fantastic fucking goalkeeper. It did. My my hand-eye coordination was insane. And I feel that so many of these younger kids in this young generation feels like for me to be the best, like I got to start early and I got to stick to it. And, and they end up hating sports by the time they're 15. And like, that's just when you're starting to get rolling. I'm curious of how you feel about getting specialized too early because a lot of athletes are talking about it now. And I will be on the record all damn day saying play everything, do theater, do fucking frisbee. I don't give a shit what it is, do it all. Do you agree?
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. It breaks my heart when I see kids specializing in one thing from a very early age, and breaks my heart even more like that the parent is like almost forcing them to do that because that's what they think is best for their kid. And of course, like the kid that specializes at an early age, there may be some that go on to be very good at that sport, but the majority, absolutely not. You're gonna burn out. You're gonna regret like even going into sport. You're gonna hate sport. For me, and I've spoke to a lot of different parent groups, and the one thing I preach to them is let your kid play anything they want to play. Let them do whatever they want to do, and most importantly, let them be a kid. I think something that I am so grateful for is, of course, when we show up to practice, we are 100%, I was always 100% committed and focused and gave my all during that practice or training. But then I also was able to do all of the social events in middle school and high school and homecoming and prom. And of course, there are times where you have to pick and choose. But the fact that my mom and my dad let me do everything that I wanted to do was a gift, honestly.
Well, it also gives you the ability to adapt. What makes great athletes great? Their ability to just adapt quickly to all different circumstances, changes, things that they can predict or that are unpredictable. I think that is so key. But it's important, I think, especially for the people listening and watching this, is to bet on yourself when there's no guarantee. To me, that tells me a lot about your character. And I'm curious because for you to put so much into basketball, to go to college, to eat, breathe, sleep, and not want to go into the WNBA or not want to try to be a professional, like you really were betting on yourself and you didn't know what the outcome could be, but you wanted to chase it. And that's what people don't realize, like chasing that greatness and chasing that edge. What gave you that internal drive to just be like, well, this could work out or it totally couldn't, but I'm going to bet on myself?
Well, I think some people are just born with it, like as easy as that. And even more than that, having that support and people that also bet on you the same amount that you bet on yourself as a young child and kid. And that was my mom, that was my dad, that was every coach I had as a little kid. I am just so grateful to have been blessed with this support system around me that never questioned any belief that I had or any dream or goal that I had. I really can't remember anybody in my close inner circle ever in my life that were like, I don't know, maybe not. Like everyone around me always, supported everything I did. And like when people ask like, what would you tell your younger self or what would you tell kids? It's just like, believe in yourself, believing or like having the belief in something, especially in yourself, to me is the most powerful thing that you can hold.
I love that. And I think it's important. And I can only speak from experience. And I would love to hear your take on it. I do think when I started to fully be myself in sports and fully accept my queerness and be celebrated for my queerness and being authentic and really talking about who I am outside of what I do is really when I started showing up as my full self. Did you feel that in a way? And I don't know if that's our relationship, in terms of us coming from Florida, where it's a very conservative place to live, which tells us, I moved in, we were laughing before the show started, but we're like, there were signs, right? We all know that there were signs, right? Hello, like we should have listened. But I do think I didn't have access to certain things in Florida that allowed me to show up as my true self until way later in life. When did you start to understand your queerness and how it related to your sport and what you were chasing?
It wasn't until I was in college that I could express my queerness. I think growing up from a relatively early age, I kind of understood my queerness, but couldn't express it. And growing up in a small town in Florida, growing up in Ocala, very conservative, grew up in kindergarten through 12th grade, went to a private Catholic church and private Catholic school. And, I was a great student, a great athlete, had great friends. But when it came to, the homecomings or the proms or when girls start talking about having crushes on boys, like I knew that I was not aligned with the other girls in my class. And because I had so much success in all of these other areas, I didn't want to spoil that. And for me, it was easier just to keep that inside of me and kind of like move the way the people moved around me, because I didn't want to upset anyone around me. Growing up, even in my family, like conservative Catholic family, I knew that was probably a topic that wouldn't be, wanted to be discussed. So I just didn't. But then when I went to college at Florida Atlantic, being in South Florida, that's much more of a melting pot. And it was for the first time that I saw what, people from different backgrounds, different ways of life, having different beliefs, different cultures, different, religious beliefs. And like everybody just got along. And for some reason, the moment I stepped on campus, I just felt like, okay, it's now, time to be my true authentic self. And the way I'm going to present myself is how I feel. And, love me or hate me, accept me or don't, but this is me. And I can honestly say I was met with nothing but love, respect. I was included. My basketball team, like they became my family immediately. So it wasn't until I stepped foot on college to where I could express my queerness. And,
I love that.
It's like that was just, I feel like every step of my life has been like a learning point and a gift in some capacity. Because, growing up in Florida in, the early 2000s, that was not a topic that was discussed.
No. And you knew it. And you knew that was something that like, it's a very interesting place to live. I'll just tie that on a bow. But I love it. Florida is so much of like who I am and the way I move and my crazy beachy, like Patrick Swayze cut, like everything ties back to that like laid back culture of Florida. And it's just, I hope we can move forward from that because there's a lot of kids there that are trapped. They don't have access like we had access. They didn't have a way out like we had a way out. So I do think it's so great. And that was so beautifully said. And there's so much power in hearing you reclaim that and feeling safe enough to do it. And look what it's done. Look what you've accomplished being exactly who you were meant to be. And I think that's so special. And I hope, anyone out there who feels like they don't have a safe place to be, there is community out there. And I think that's the important, sometimes we do have to be brave enough to just step into our own and be like, like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to own it, but I'm going to make sure I'm safe doing it and make sure like the people around me are going to lift me up too. And, more than anyone, community is the most important thing we can have to make sure we're safe and we can actually be our authentic self because it's a weird time for the queer people right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And but, I feel really lucky that I was met with, the love and the grace and, but I'm very aware that that is not the case for a lot of people. And it just breaks my heart. And I just, for us to be able to step up and, live in our queerness and our true authentic self, I just hope that it gives, that younger generation the power that, there is a really high chance that you will find this amazing community if you're not surrounded with it right now, that people will love you and accept you and continue to lift you up.
Yeah. And I mean, look at where you are right now. You just had an incredible, I think you won the gold at the Olympics getting proposed to. I don't know what more you want to walk away than a ring on your finger forever being like, yeah, we did that. And I want, like, tell me about it. What? When did you and Hillary meet? I want to know who made the first move because it's going to tell me a lot about both of you. But yeah, it was so lovely that it was so viral. It was so, and for me, it's representation, visibility, and the acceptance that came with it was so beautiful. And I hope you felt that because so many people are like, thank God we need fucking something to cheer for as everything's on fire back at home. It was a nice moment just to be like, love, we need more of it.
Yeah, my heart was full of so much joy and love that whole Olympic Games. And it's like, side note, could you imagine something like that happening in like the 90s or the early 2000s and that being okay?
No.
But like, the fact that how far we have come and, there wasn't a moment of doubt to like, let's do this, and post this in front of the world. And, we both were flooded with hundreds of messages. And then, as I'm sure you can imagine, we broke the internet there for a couple days. So it was just just so cool. But yeah, going back, we met, like we've known each other for a number of years, just crossing paths through different Team USA events. And over the years, we've randomly slid into each other's Instagram DMs, but never, I would be in a relationship or she would be in a relationship, and it just never really aligned. But then going into Beijing, I can't even remember what she asked me. Something like, what are you taking, like, what are you doing in Beijing? I think she's like, are you watching anything on Netflix or playing any games? And I'm like, what is this?
What is this small talk?
What is this?
There's something else here.
Yeah, what is this? Like, you don't care what I'm watching. But no, it was funny. And then we just like started texting in Beijing, and she, COVID times, super weird. Everybody masked up. Everyone, scared to death to test positive. You test positive, you're, essentially kicked out of the Olympics. So one day after dinner, she asked, like, you want to go on a walk? So that was kind of our first date. So we're walking around the Olympic Village, fully masked, distanced, and just talking. And that was kind of the start of honestly really getting to know each other at a deep level. Not having any distractions, kind of living in a bubble. We didn't have family, we didn't have friends, we didn't have fans. So it was just like us stuck in this Olympic Village. And, late night walks became like, yeah, you want to go to dinner? So then really gets romantic. We're going to dinner with plexiglass walls. Oh my God.
I love this.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was unique to say the least. But we just had this connection that was really, really strong. And after Beijing, we were inseparable, really. And our relationship just really bloomed from there.
I love that. And truthfully, two elite athletes, two intense, successful careers. Like, what makes it work? How do you make it work? Because most people don't realize how hectic our lives are and how, we're so on a schedule and every moment matters and it's just relentless. So I'm curious with both of you, how do you make it work?
Yeah, I mean, with both of our schedules, like the chaos of the travel, the competition, the pressure of competing at a high level, and all of our schedules, like just having each other is our one constant. And the fact that we just continue to show up for one another. And, there's been more times of being apart than together. And we realize sometimes we get, our tunnel vision and caught up in our own thing and our own stress and our own pressure. But us both knowing that is what comes with high performance and professional sports really keeps us together and really creates a special bond. Like we both know what it takes to get to the top, to stay at the top. So with all that craziness, like continuing to choose one another, continuing to show up for one another, knowing, what that one is feeling, makes for a really strong connection and partnership, for sure.
I love that. That's so sweet. And there is something powerful about loving someone who gets you, like fully. They understood what it takes. They understood the selfishness. They understood, like, the intensity of choosing yourself a lot of the time to be the best version of you as a person and as an athlete and as a teammate. And what do you think that she understands about you that no one else does based on being such exceptional elite athletes?
God, that's a great question. I mean, you actually said it, like understanding like that selfishness and putting yourself first in these times. These are unique times. These aren't going to last forever. There is an end game to this. So really, understanding like I have to put myself first here. She has to put herself first there. Sometimes it requires somewhat of a reminder, because of course we both have feelings and want each other to put one another first all the time, but you take a moment and you're like, no, like, you're right. Like, I would do the same exact thing in this moment. So I think that's really, really special.
It really is. And I want to ask this because it's so sweet, and I want everyone to hear it because, as we spoke about coming from Florida and conservative backgrounds with not much visibility, the younger version of you growing up in Florida, if you got to watch that viral moment between two women at the Olympic Village, what would it mean to you?
It would make me feel seen. It would definitely give me the power inside of me that it is okay to be me. It is okay to love who I want to love, identify how I want to identify, because other people are doing that and they're being accepted and loved and praised and honored, and it's a beyond special moment. So I think it would just, make me be seen and give me the power to step out into the world as my true self.
I love that. It's so sweet. And it's so well put. And I agree. I think I would have saved, and this is why I'm so visible about everything I do when it comes to my sexuality and my relationships. It would have saved me a lot of heartache of trying to figure out who I was and resisting it because I thought it was wrong. You're right. You say it so perfectly. Just to be seen, to seeing is believing, and that visual moment. We didn't have social media when we were kids. Like, we got to see magazines. Sure as hell, not many gay people on those magazines. So it's like, I was just like, why can't I get it right? Why does it feel not good? And I felt sad. And I just think about these young kids who get to see that moment, whether it's two women, two men, someone who, identifies
a Black person and a white person.
Exactly. Whatever the fuck it is you want, just to be able to see it and know, like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, oh, I do have community. Oh, people do move like me or think like me. I see myself in them. I can be them. Like, there's so much that goes into being able to show this young generation, not even this young generation, I would even say the older generation who's still stuck in the old ways.
No kidding.
That are scared. I'm seeing more women come out later in life than I ever have. And I'm just like, go on, sister. You've been doing this long enough. Like, drop the rope. We're good.
Yep. Yeah.
But
I think,
yeah, but I think I was just going to say, to just kind of sum it up, you now, after getting proposed to by Hillary, and, you both have been traveling a lot and, going to Saturday Night Live and God knows everything else under the sun, the Oscars, really cool things. And do you feel good about what's next and rebirth and retirement and walking away into this new future with your future wife? Like, I want to know how you're feeling and how you're sitting with it right now, because I know what it's like to retire, and I know it's scary and it's unfamiliar, and I want to check in and know, like, how are you? How are you feeling? What's going on?
Yeah. Thank you for asking, because that is a real thing. But yeah, just to touch on like some of the things Hillary and I have done, and her being, on SNL, this, that, and the other, and to be, by her side through those things is really cool. And it just I'm just so proud of her and so happy for her that she and the other girls are getting, the recognition that they deserve. Like, they are killing it out there. And, I just, know a little bit of what Hillary has given back to the sport, and her, playing a huge part in creating the Professional Women's Hockey League. Like, so to be able to be in these moments with her has just been so incredible. And I'm just so proud to stand by her and just so happy to be able to see her. being acknowledged for these things. So that's been great. And, I am ready to take the skin suit off and be a fan of Hillary and the women's team for as long as she wants to play. But just talking about my retirement, I feel very content in this moment. After Beijing, I knew I wanted to go 4 more years, but I would be ready to be done this time around. I feel really blessed that I was able to end on my terms when I want to, because I know a lot of athletes don't have that, freedom. Looking back on this Olympics, finishing 4th place in all 3 of my events, arguably the toughest spot to finish in the Olympic Games, I can really, really say my heart was so full of joy every single moment of that games. Going back to Beijing, I win my first individual medal. I felt emptiness. I mean, my family wasn't there. My friends weren't there. All of these awesome people that have been such a pivotal part of my journey weren't there. So to, win this medal, to win, accomplish this lifelong dream, and to feel a sense of emptiness was really, really bizarre. So given that, I really knew, I was like, I want to go 4 more years. And, I am like the oldest, I think, girl out there. And it was going to be tough to get onto that podium this time around, but I knew I had a chance. I believed in myself. And, 3 4th place finishes, devastating, but at the same time, looking up, seeing my mom, my dad, my sister, Hillary's whole family in the stands. I'm like, that's what this is all about. And, through our whole career, as athletes, we're most of the time defined by our wins and our losses.
Correct.
But knowing that this was going to be my last quad 4 years ago, being able to kind of reflect on my entire career through this last 4-year process has been a huge blessing. And ending the Olympics, I know my last Olympic event, the 1500 meter, really, really emotional. And I remember after that race, the men's hockey team had their semifinal game, and I'm on the bus back to the village, and Hillary texted me asking if I wanted to go to the men's hockey game with her and the team. And my initial response was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. But I sat there for a second. I'm like, you know what? No, I need this moment to myself. As I'm sure you can imagine, when you know it's your last time, you're holding in, so many emotions because you still have to perform. And I just needed a moment to feel all of the things, the happiness, the sadness. I really needed to just go back to my room in the village and cry for a little bit. And they were tears of sadness, tears of joy, tears of, thankfulness. So I just needed to pause for that evening and have that evening to myself and just think through, the wonderful 16 years and, to say can you do all that in one night? Maybe not. But I didn't want to, keep doing things and pushing off these emotions that I was really having to bottle in to try to execute a perfect race.
Yeah. And it's so real and it's so raw. And I appreciate you being so vulnerable. And now that you are stepping into this new phase of life and this beautiful new chapter, what parts of your identity are you holding on to, and what parts are you ready to release to start this new chapter?
Wow. I mean, I will forever be longing for this competitive edge. I mean, I have been driven to be the best for so long. But what is really exciting, I've worked with a hypnotherapist for a number of years now. And these last number of years in my career, I've become really curious about this inner world and in my mind, where does my identity lie? And I know my identity does not sit with my results, but at the same time, like, that is what my identity has been for so many years. So to try to work through like that ebb and flow of like, what is true and what do I believe, trying to, you know, explore like, what are my fears, what are my belief systems, you know, our medals and our accomplishments define us in a certain sense, but I think the real story of, I'm sure you can relate to this, of our careers is learning how to rebuild when things don't go good, learning how to deal with pressure, with shortcomings, failures, learning how to pull yourself out of these feelings of self-doubt, overcoming obstacles. And what I've learned in this world of hypnotherapy is it's essentially like rewiring your belief at a subconscious level. Our subconscious truly shapes our entire belief system. So I am really excited to like dive into this world, and I'm really eager to like help other high performers strengthen and control the one thing that we can all control, and that's how we think and in the power of our minds.
I love that. And you're right. There's not enough people out there talking about it. You know, mental health now, yeah, people are talking. It's hard as hell to even access. Most people can't access a therapist at $200 an hour. Like that doesn't exist. So I love that you bring that topic up, because it will make the transition better. It's not going to make it easy. There's nothing about shedding the skin of what you once were and starting anew. It is a hard place to sit at the edge of. And I know you're sitting in that, but I love to hear you're doing the work, because it's not easy. And you have to, you know, in what world do you dedicate your whole fucking life to this craft? And then at 38, you walk away and you're like, what's next? What do I do? But the mind is a big component, and not everyone gets it. And it is very, very clear that you get it. So do you want this to be your next chapter, like a sports psychologist or a mental coach, or like what is it that you feel? Because you are curious and you are adventurous, and you are going to go after whatever it is your mind is set to. I'm curious, like, what are you excited about right now that you've got to shed your skin, you're starting anew, and the possibilities are endless?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been working with a mindset coach, and he specializes in hypnotherapy. His name's Elliot Rowe, and he has a team of mindset coaches who use hypnotherapy in their practice. In the past couple years, he's been planting the seed, because I've done a ton of work with him, a ton of sports psychiatrists, and so I've like lived this for so long on the athlete side. And he's like, if you ever want to be, you know, a part of the team, I'd love to have you. I'd love to coach you up. So this past summer, I actually took a 6-month course and got certified in hypnotherapy. And so I am really interested in stepping into that world, and not just athletes, but any high performer. I think so many people don't work on the growth between their ears because you can't see it growing. It's really, really hard to measure. And I didn't do a ton of mindset work until probably 2018. I had a really bad head injury that could have taken me out of sport completely. It took me out of my sport for a whole year. And prior to that, I never had anxiety. I never had panic attacks. I was always what I thought, like, very strong-minded. And that really stripped me of my entire being. I had really nothing. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to think. Like, how do I overcome this? And at that moment, I really got a lot of help from different individuals. And then when I got back into high performance with skating, I found Elliot, and being able to tap into like that subconscious mind, or that part of you that you don't even know exists a lot of the times, that that is the reason that you are the way you are. So if you were able to access that and you find it for yourself, you're not told, you were guided. And when I could find a part of me that was, inhibiting me from doing the things that I wanted to do, and a lot of it was fear driven.
Yeah.
That was just so life-changing for me that I'm like, I want to be able to help people do that. And of course, I can relate the most to athletes. You see so many people that, you could say buckle under pressure or, get the yips or whatever. So to have lived that and then to explore this mental side of things, I really believe that I could be helpful to a lot of people. And so that's what excites me.
I love that. That's incredible. And it's such a cool space to sit in because not enough people do it. And so many people need it. So the last question I want to ask now, when you really zoom out and you look at your life so far, you're, from Central Florida to Olympic podiums to this moment, what are you most proud of that no one sees?
I mean, there are a few things, but the first thing that comes to mind is overcoming this head injury that some people know about. A lot of people don't. But I had, a concussion that turned into post-concussion syndrome, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, vertigo attacks, and I was also diagnosed with this condition called POTS. And being able to work through those things, I mean, there was a time where I couldn't get off the couch. My heart rate would elevate, my blood pressure would drop, I would have a number of fainting episodes. I was scared to drive a car. I was scared that I would have a vertigo attack. I couldn't walk through a grocery store because I would get overwhelmed by the colors in the aisles. I wouldn't be able to go to a restaurant because just the loud noises would be debilitating to me. So the work that I did to not just become somebody that could live in society peacefully, but to be able to put my skates back on, to be able to compete at the highest level, to be able to win an Olympic medal after that, to be able to set a world record after that, is something I'm really, really proud of. But then on the same note, I must say, something that makes me proud that people have reminded me of is the way that I've made them feel, like the impact that I've had on so many different people, kids, adults, people that I would never think that I would have a positive impact on is something I'm really proud of, because at the end of the day, our accomplishments and medals, it's cool, but it doesn't matter. What really matters to me, and I think to everyone, is the impact that you have on people and the way that people remember you. So to continue to get a number of different messages from people like that have been very, very touching, and I'm proud that I've been able to have such a positive impact to so many people.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Brittany. And it's the truth. Yeah. People won't remember what you did. People will always remember how you made them feel. And you have done that at every level, at every turn, every corner. And I wish you nothing but the continued success and happiness. And thank you for sharing your love story and being vulnerable and giving us hope from at home and watching this journey with both you and Hillary. It's been really fun to see from afar. And I know your story is helping so many people. So thank you for being here today. Thanks for coming on Wide Open. You delivered as always. I'm not surprised. You're so smart. You're so articulate. You just seem like a really incredible human. And I hope our paths cross. I want to hang out. I want to break bread. I want to get dinner. I want to do all the things.
Yes, please. Let's do it. No, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to get to share, different parts of me. And so, yeah, thank you for asking the questions that you did. Because, yeah, these kind of conversations and sharing these stories are life-changing to people, and it's so important.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Brittany, thanks for being wide open. We'll see everyone next time on Wide Open with Ashlyn Harris. All right, everyone. What a beautiful conversation with a beautiful person. There's something really powerful about hearing someone stand at the edge of who they've been and still choose to walk forward. Brittany spent her life chasing seconds, chasing perfection, chasing a vision of excellence that most people will never understand. And she did that at the highest level. But what stuck with me more than anything wasn't about what she accomplished, but who she became along the way. The courage to pivot when it didn't make sense, the strength to carry her identity even when it felt complicated, the vulnerability to love out loud, and the bravery to walk away when it's time. Because the truth is, walking away from something that defined you might be the hardest win of all. But Brittany's not done. She's actually not even close. She's just getting started in a different way. So if this conversation tells us anything, it's that the best chapters don't come from holding on. They come from having the courage to evolve over and over again. I'm Ashlyn Harris, and this is Wide Open.